Good morning. It's another fresh edition of your breakfast show, Leadership Television, Inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred. Today is June 16, 2025. And of course, all too soon, we are in the middle of the month of June. And today's first segment of the show is newspaper review, where we review front headline stories of some select newspapers, including Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership, and a sister publication, a business weekly newspaper, National Economy. We'll flag up with Leadership. Let's see what Leadership has as its main cover stories this Monday. Let's go there. Leadership's sole leading story today on the cover, because we still have a wraparound underneath covering that paper, is BENUE killings. Tinubu orders security chiefs to restore peace as IGP visits today. BENUE killings. Tinubu orders security chiefs to restore peace as IGP visits today. Death toll rises. Villagers flee. Protest rocks Makurdi. Governor Elia Pope Leo orders condemn attack. The story continues on page 7 of Leadership. However, Leadership has two cover stories. We'll move over to the page 3, where we have our stand. Today's stand is on, so Leadership has two cover story, like I said earlier, two wrap around actually because of adverts. With the second cover, we have defection, eyes on Diri Fubara as Damagum denies dumping PDP. Defection, eyes on Diri Fubara as Damagun denies dumping PDP. Dangote Refinery begins distribution of PMS diesel nationwide. The story continues on page 24 of Leadership newspaper. From there, we move to page 3, where we have our stand. Today's stand is on Nigeria must tackle child labor. Nigeria must tackle child labor. Today's stand in Leadership. He says, with the world marking the 2025 World Day against child labor recently, the global community must confront an uncomfortable truth. Child labor remains a persistent stain on the conscience of our civilization. With an estimated 133 million children engaged in labor globally, 54 million of them in hazardous work, the goal of eliminating child labor by 2025, as once envisioned by the International Labour Organization ILO, has sadly not been achieved. Like many countries in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria bears a disproportionate share of this burden. According to the Nigerian Child Labour Survey Report 2022, over 25 million Nigerian children, or nearly 40% of those aged 5 to 17, are engaged in one form of child labor or another. In rural areas, the figure is even more harrowing, 44.8%. Behind each of these statistics is a life interrupted, a child who should be in school but is instead carrying bricks, hawking goods in traffic, or working in a mine or a farm. From that, we'll go towards the conclusion where the paper takes a stand. It says, finally, we urge every Nigerian leaders, employers, civil societies, actors, faith-based institutions, and ordinary citizens to treat the fight against child labor not as a seasonal campaign, but as a daily moral duty. Every time we patronize street hawkers who should be in school, every time we ignore a child in domestic servitude, we become complicit in this grave injustice. As a newspaper, we affirm our commitment to amplifying the voices of the voiceless and holding those in power accountable for protecting our nation's most vulnerable citizens. Let this year's World Day against child labor not be another day of empty promises. Let it be the day Nigeria takes an essential step toward catering to the needs of our children. Let us rise as one to protect, educate, and empower every Nigerian child. Today's stand in Leadership newspaper, how powerful Nigeria must tackle child labor. Today's viewpoint, today's editorial, today's stand in Leadership. From our stand, we move to the back page of Leadership this Monday, where we have Monday column with Dakuku Peter's side. Today's column is on lessons of Mokwa disaster, Mokwa flood disaster, which claimed so many lives. As at the last count, it said over 200 lives were lost, with about 1,000 plus humans missing. Today's Monday column with Dakuku Peter's side, it said lessons learned, lessons of Mokwa disaster. In code, it said the story must not end in despair. Tragedy can be a turning point. In other words, tragedy can be a turning point to turn the lessons around for good for subsequent issues. Before we leave the back page, we must visit Ghana Must Go. Ghana Must Go. We have on the news, police disrupt PDP meeting in Abia. And it replied, accomplice to one party state, in exclamation mark. Accomplice to one party state. Police disrupt PDP meeting in Abia. And it replies, accomplice to one party state. It's on that note we conclude review of leadership newspaper this Monday, June 16, 2025. For continuation of these headline stories, don't forget to visit the website of leadership, www.leadership.ng. From leadership, we move over to the next paper we have on our lineup this Monday, and that paper is THISDAY newspaper. THISDAY newspaper has similar story with that of leadership, talking about BENUE killings. It says, Tinubu, BENUE killings depressing. We must not allow this to continue. Enough is enough. Leading story today on leadership on THISDAY newspaper. Tinubu, BENUE killings depressing. We must not allow this to continue. Enough is enough. Other security chiefs to implement earlier directive for lasting peace. Tax earlier to convene reconciliation meeting among warring factions to end bloodshed. Pope Leo XIV, Northern Can condemn massacre, pray for victims, seal for peace. These are kickers to the leading story on today's leading story, just like leadership or the BENUE killings in THISDAY newspaper cover. He said, BENUE killings depressing. We must not allow this to continue. Enough is enough. Coming from President Bola Tinubu. The other security chiefs to implement earlier directive for lasting peace. Tax earlier the governor of the state to convene reconciliation meeting among warring factions to end bloodshed. Pope Leo XIV, Northern Can condemn massacre, pray for victims, seal for peace. Kickers to that leading story. Dangote fulfills pledge to shake down the downstream sector, set to begin fuel distribution nationwide. Is a leading story, and of course, the advert cover on some of the selected newspapers on our lineup today, and also including leadership. Dangote fulfills pledge to shake down downstream sector, set to begin fuel distribution nationwide. Another leading story, of course, with the video trending on social media is the video of the APC stakeholders meeting. This day says commotion as APC stakeholders endorse Tinubu silent on Shettima for 2027 election. The story continues on page 34 of THISDAY newspaper. Commotion as APC stakeholders endorse Tinubu silent on Shettima for 2027 election. Time will not permit us, we would have played that video. We saw a gathering during the meeting whereby the APC chairman, national chairman Ganduje, actually solicited for endorsement of Tinubu and was silent on his VP Shettima for re-election for 2027 polls. It's commotion as the stakeholders, and of course we saw that the commotion that generated during the meeting, it was a free-for. It's actually degenerated to a free-for-all. That also concludes today's review of front headline stories on THISDAY newspaper this Monday. Don't forget to log into the website of THISDAY for continuation of these headline stories. We move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup. It's another paper that has that APC commotion as its cover story, and that is The Punch. The Punch says 2027 Tinubu Shettima alliance under fire. Rift deepens in APC over 2027 power formula. NAS caucus back Shettima, governor split. Kickers to that leading story on The Punch, like I just said earlier. Viral video of APC meeting where there was it generated to a free-for-all because Shettima's name was conspicuously absent in the presenting consensus endorsement of President Bola Tinubu for 2027 election. Is the leading story today on The Punch newspaper. And beside the Punch, masthead of The Punch, BENUE bloodbath, military jets deployed as IG takes charge. The story continues on page 7 of the story of the paper. 3.6 billion naira grant rent. Federal government in last-minute talks with embassies. 3.6 billion naira grant rent. Federal government in last-minute talks with embassies. This story runs on page 7 of The Punch newspaper, and that also concludes the review of front headline stories on The Punch this Monday. For continuation of these headline stories, don't forget to log in to the website of The Punch. As we move to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian's leading story is different. It talks about, it's not actually different. It talks about the BENUE massacre, and of course it's taking the story from the Pope the 14th angle. It says Pope decries terrible massacre in Benue as Tinubu rallies security chiefs. Pope decries terrible massacre in Benue as Tinubu rallies security chiefs. The story continues on page 6 of The Guardian. Just beneath the masthead of The Guardian 2027, Sowore sees no opposition, says APC controls all. 2027, Sowore sees no opposition, says APC controls all. Northeast delegates fight for Shettima's second term with Tinubu. The story continues on page 3. See one of the leading stories in today's newspaper lineup. Northeast delegates fight for Shettima's second term with Tinubu. Northeast delegates fight for Shettima's second term with Tinubu. The story continues on page 3 of The Guardian. Lastly, on the cover of The Guardian newspaper, petrol price hike, scarcity loom over Middle East tension, tanker drivers strike. Is a news page 6 of The Guardian. And of course, with that concludes the review of front headline stories on The Guardian this Monday. Don't forget to log into the website of The Guardian, www.guardian.ng, for continuation of those headline stories. We move to the last paper we have on our lineup this Monday, and that is the leadership's sister publication, and that is National Economy. Is a business weekly newspaper on the table of leadership. And today's this week's leading news story says USSD war, bank stakeholders may adopt unified error handling protocols. Experts warn against causing frustration for farmers. That is the rider for the leading story on today's National Economy newspaper. USSD war, bank stakeholders may adopt unified error handling protocols. Experts warn against causing frustration for farmers. On that National Economy, portfolio management as a critical part of national development. This story runs on page 10 of the paper. Portfolio management as a critical part of national development. That takes us to the stories about the masthead of National Economy. $1.25 billion annual loss. Maritime Bank secures $150 million to upgrade shipyards. The story runs on page 5 of National Economy. $1.25 billion annual loss. Maritime Bank secures $150 million to upgrade shipyards. OPEC output hike to stay till July. The story runs on page 5 of the National Economy. OPEC output hike to stay till July. Just before we leave the cover of National Economy, let's dash to page 3 of National Economy for the editorial. The editorial says recognizing lifeline of family remittances in Nigeria. Recognizing lifeline of family remittances in Nigeria. As the world marks the International Day of Family Remittance on June 16, and that is today, it is fitting to reflect on the vital role that diaspora remittances play in sustaining millions of households across Nigeria. For a country facing persistent economic headwinds, including high inflation, currency instability, and rising poverty, family remittances are not just a private transfer of money. They are a critical economic lifeline, a tool for social resilience, and a lever for national development. Tips from today's editorial in National Economy, recognizing lifeline of family remittances in Nigeria. With that, we conclude review of front headline stories and some of the inside stories today on the review of National Economy newspaper. Don't forget to log into the website of National Economy for on the news report at www.nationaleconomy.com. So it does this view we conclude today's Inside Nigeria, brought to you on Leadership Television. Don't forget to join us for News on the Hour on this station. Till I come your way again, same time, same station, for another fresh edition of the program. My name is Winifred Weber. Thanks for joining us.
Be part of our brand. Leadership for God and country. Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.